Zone 2 running is an incredibly effective tool for fat loss, especially if you're over 40. But if you know how to stack high-intensity work on top of your foundational Zone 2 runs, you can accelerate fat loss even further. And when you add a few key lifestyle tweaks that I'll share later in this video, you can literally turn your body into a fat-burning machine. Zone 2 is known as the fat burning zone, and this isn't internet hype. It's built on decades of research, and most recently in 2023, two studies showed that both high intensity training and moderate intensity continuous training increase maximum fat oxidation in obese adults. But peak fat burning intensity occurred at about 65% of VO2 max, or roughly 75% of your maximum heart rate. That's classic Zone 2 heart rate range. At this intensity, the subjects were burning over 4 calories of pure fat per minute. And yes, these were obese adults, which is an important point, and I'll explain why in a minute. But first, let's talk about the deeper reason why you burn so much fat in Zone 2. My name is Jasmine, and I'm a distance running coach who helps midlife runners over 40 achieve new levels of performance in their running journey. And in the context of this video, new levels of fat loss as well. Multiple studies show that as your aerobic fitness improves, the rate at which you can burn fat per minute goes up dramatically. And Zone 2 is exactly where your aerobic system gets upgraded. When you run in this zone, you increase capillary density, you expand mitochondrial volume, and boost the enzymes that transport and oxidize fat. It's important to note that fat burning can only happen inside the mitochondria. So when you build more mitochondria and make them larger and more efficient, you burn more fat per minute at the same intensity. So every Zone 2 run doesn't just burn fat today, it increases your ability to burn more fat per minute in the future. Now let's go back to those earlier studies. If Zone 2 allowed obese adults to burn over 4 calories of fat per minute, how much more can you burn as you get fitter? That question has been answered by a 2017 study by Randall and colleagues. They examined over 1,100 endurance-trained athletes and found that some of them was burning up to 1.27 grams of fat per minute. That's over 11 calories of pure fat. Although these levels are rare for recreational runners or untrained individuals, a newer 2022 study by Rausch showed that out of 28 endurance-trained male runners, about 43% hit 1 gram of fat burn per minute. That's 9 calories of pure fat, and it's more than double what the obese adults burn in the earlier studies. So what does that mean for you? Well, the fitter you become, the more fat you burn. When you run in Zone 2 regularly, you're essentially developing a fat-burning engine that becomes more powerful week after week. And for us midlife runners over 40, this sustainable, low-stress training fits perfectly with our less than optimal recovery capacity. But before you go out for a 20 to 30 minute run, 4 or 5 times a week, there's a problem you need to know about. Before we unpack the problem, it's worth asking a simple question. How are you tracking your fat loss? Because losing weight doesn't always mean that you're losing fat. It can also mean that you're losing muscle, and that's the last thing you want. We'll talk more about how to protect your muscle during fat loss later in the video, but for now, the key is making sure that you're tracking fat loss and not just weight loss. Lately, I've been using the Body Pod by Hume Health, and it's quickly becoming part of my morning routine. As the world's first portable body analyzer, it measures your body composition with medical-grade accuracy right from home. It honestly feels like having one of those $20,000 full-body DEXA scanners used in clinics. What I appreciate most is that it doesn't stop at a single number. It shows how your muscle mass and body fat are trending day by day, broken down by region, and it even distinguishes between subcutaneous and visceral fat. That gives you a much clearer picture of what's actually changing inside your body. If you want to try it, use the link below with my code ENDURANCELAB for 20% off. It also stacks with Hume's current sale for up to 50% total savings. The code's only valid for 7 days, and if you're in the US, it's HSA and FSA eligible, which means your insurance may even cover it. Huge thanks to Hume Health for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get back to the problem with 20 to 30 minute Zone 2 runs for fat loss. Here's something most runners don't know. Your body doesn't go from 0 to burning fat at peak capacity the moment you begin running, even if you're in Zone 2. Early in your run, your muscles rely heavily on glycogen, which is your body's form of stored carbohydrates. Why? Because glycogen delivers energy quickly, while fat oxidation takes some time to ramp up. I mentioned this earlier that fat burning happens inside the mitochondria, and only when enough oxygen is present. That means your cardiovascular system needs time to increase oxygen delivery, and your muscles need time to mobilize and transport fat into the mitochondria. What's worse is that this transition is even slower in older runners, often due to reduced mitochondrial efficiency and slower oxygen kinetics. Younger athletes may ramp up fat oxidation in a couple of minutes. There's no study that can confirm an exact time frame because everyone's physiology is different. But for us midlife runners over 40, the best estimate is that it may take up to 15 to 30 minutes before fat burning reaches its peak. That means short zone 2 runs of 20 to 30 minutes rarely give you enough time to reach your peak fat burning state. So, to unlock the true fat burning potential of zone 2 training, especially after 40, you need longer sessions, ideally in the 45 to 90 minute range. These longer sessions give your aerobic system time to fully activate and allow fat oxidation to rise to its highest levels. But what if there's a way to accelerate your fat loss even further? Zone 2 is your fat burning engine, but Zone 5 is the supercharger. A 2024 study by Lee and colleagues found that high-intensity interval training led to significantly greater fat loss compared to moderate intensity training alone in obese adults. Now, it's important to note that Zone 5 training itself doesn't burn fat directly during the workout. At 90 to 100% of VO2 max, your body relies almost entirely on glycogen. But Zone 5 training triggers adaptations that increase fat burning during your lower intensity runs. It stimulates rapid mitochondrial growth, boosts fat transport proteins, and improves metabolic flexibility. That's your body's ability to switch between carbs and fats. These adaptations resulted in significantly reduced abdominal and total body fat. Dear Valor's 2023 study showed the same thing. Participants who combined moderate and high-intensity training improved their maximal fat oxidation, while those who only trained at moderate intensities did not. Here's the best part. You don't need much high intensity for the supercharger to kick in. One Zone 5 session per week is enough. And if that sounds powerful, it gets even better. There's one more accelerator, and it has nothing to do with training. If Zone 2 is your engine and Zone 5 is your supercharger, then think of your diet as high-octane fuel. A 2023 scientific review showed that the most effective way to lose fat after 40 is to combine a modest calorie deficit with high protein intake and consistent forms of aerobic training, such as running. Protein is especially important because as you age, you lose muscle more easily. If you're in a calorie deficit without enough protein, you lose both fat and muscle, slowing your metabolism. But when you eat 1.6 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, you preserve muscle while maximizing fat loss. Diet and training both work on their own, but together they multiply each other's effect. When you pair smart nutrition with long Zone 2 runs and strategically place Zone 5 intervals, you turn your body into a 24/7 fat burning system. But there's one thing that can destroy all your progress if you ignore it. So before we talk about how you can put it all together into the smartest weekly structure for fast fat loss, let's first talk about the biggest fat loss killer threatening your results. Look, you can nail your training and dial in your diet, but you can wreck it all if your sleep falls apart. A study of overweight adults aged 35 to 55 found that those who slept less during a weight loss intervention lost significantly less fat than those who slept well, even though their diet and training were exactly the same. In other words, when training and eating right, poor sleep kills fat loss. So how do you ensure great sleep? For that, I lean on the work of Dr. Matthew Walker, one of the world's leading sleep scientists and the author of the best-selling book, Why We Sleep. Walker explains that great sleep rests on 4 core pillars: quantity, quality, regularity, and timing. Quantity is about getting 7 to 9 hours of actual sleep. Quality is about deep, continuous sleep without frequent awakenings. Regularity means going to bed and waking up at the same time daily. According to Walker, regularity is the most important pillar of it all. And finally, timing is about sleeping in sync with your natural biological clock. When you get these 4 pillars right, you support fat loss, you accelerate recovery, and you enhance every adaptation you earn during training. So the bottom line is to treat your sleep like a non-negotiable training block, because without it, you're literally pulling the brakes on your fat loss. Now that the physiology is clear, let's turn that into a weekly plan that fits real life. Do 3 to 4 Zone 2 runs per week, each lasting between 45 and 60 minutes. Once a week, extend one of those into a 75 to 90 minute long run. Then include one Zone 5 interval session per week. After a 10 to 15 minute warm-up of easy jogging, dynamic stretching, and mobility drills, do 3 to 5 reps of 4 minutes and 92 to 94% of your maximum heart rate. Match this with a modest calorie deficit, high quality protein, aiming for around 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight, and stick to whole, minimally processed foods. Then make sleep non-negotiable. Prioritize 7 to 9 hours of high-quality, consistent sleep every night, aiming to go to bed and wake up at the same time daily. So the smartest way to run for fat loss after 40 is to build your engine with Zone 2 runs, supercharge it with a touch of Zone 5, fuel it with proper nutrition, and protect your sleep. The final thing to consider is whether you can speed up fat loss even more with fasted Zone 2 runs. This video here answers that question. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the other side.